Hello, and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Marathon, where I review every home console release of The Legend of Zelda. This month's video is on A Link to the Past. The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, was released on November 21st, 1991. It was the first Zelda game to be released in 16-bit, and was a nice early release on the SNES console. It is considered by many to be the best Zelda game of all time, and it's even considered the best video game of all time to some people. But is the game really that good? Let's find out. The game opens with your player character, Link, waking up and being told to rescue the Princess Zelda. The game wastes no time getting started, and you are thrown right into the game. You head into a castle, which is under the control of an evil wizard named Ganon, and complete the game's first dungeon. Dungeons are the same idea as Zelda 1's dungeons. They're just bigger and more complex in this game. The first dungeon teaches you the basics of combat, which mostly consists of a swing attack and a harder to pull off spin attack. The combat is very polished, well done, and has complex enemy hitboxes, so you have to hit your enemies in the right spots, which leads to some very interesting combat scenarios. Castle also acts as a tutorial for how the dungeons work, which mostly consists of finding out how to open doors to unlock and explore the dungeon. That may sound simple, but opening a door might be done by finding a key, killing all the monsters in a room, or solving a spatial puzzle. That can be very satisfying to do, especially because of the jingle that plays afterwards. The dungeons only expand as the game goes on, becoming bigger and more complex as you play. These dungeons have hidden rooms, special keys, and a unique dungeon item. The dungeon items are used for combat and getting to new parts of the dungeon. The items are one of the most fun aspects of the game, and eventually became a staple of the series. The items help with getting past each dungeon's gimmick, like the hookshot pulling you across a gap, or the cane of Baina, creating a block to hold down a button. These items and gimmicks really work together to make each dungeon feel fun and creative. The best example of a dungeon is the water dungeon, which uses water flow to fill and empty a room with water. You have to control this water to access different parts of the dungeon and eventually get to the end. It's very rewarding to complete, since you have to create a 3D map of the environment in your brain. Most of the dungeons are interesting and fun like that one, but toward the end they do get very difficult, and sometimes a little too frustrating. This problem gets very annoying in the ice dungeon, which is a long walk to the end, so you have to end up going through the same areas over and over again as you die. That's one of the very few flaws this game has, so it didn't ruin the experience at all, and it could just be my complete lack of video game skills, so keep that in mind. After completing a dungeon, you're sent back to the overworld, similar to Zelda 1. But unlike Zelda 1, the world, called Hyrule, is very detailed and full of life. Exploring this world is very fun, and the lack of loading screens makes for a very cohesive world. There are characters that give you more insight into the story, secret areas, and shops that give you a lot of things to do in between the dungeons. The music also creates a great atmosphere, which is very important for a long game like this one. The world is very cheerful and welcoming, but it has another side to its coin. To get to most of the dungeons, you have to go through portals that bring you to the Dark World, a reverse version of Hyrule that is more dangerous and has a darker color palette. This area offers a nice contrast with the Light World, and really adds a weight to your quest. Speaking of the quest, this is the first Zelda game to really feel like there is one. The game has a simple story that gives Link an actual motivation. The goal is to kill the villain Ganon, and get back the Triforce, a powerful artifact, that gives whoever owns it the power to rule the world. Even though this story is extremely simple and cliché, you end up caring because of how great the world is. The cheesy 90s charm really makes the world feel like home. So that's A Link to the Past. I think it's a very good starting point for people wanting to get into the series, and deserves a lot of the praise it gets. It was easily the best game in the series so far, and takes its place above Zelda 1 on the ranking. Thanks for watching the video. Next month's video will be on the next game in the series, Ocarina of Time, so click the subscribe button, then the bell, to be notified when that video comes out. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.